All right, it is the NLCS and the ALCS here of the MLB playoffs. We go from 8 teams down to 4, and this is your final 4. The Los Angeles Dodgers obviously will take on the New York Mets, and the New York Yankees will be taking on the Cleveland Guardians. So, again, 2 of these teams will be in the World Series, and, of course, 1 of these 4 teams are going to be your 2024 World Champions, of course, in the MLB. But before we get to the actual prediction, folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more predictions of MLB, NFL, college football, regardless of the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Later today, we will have our UFC Alexander Hernandez versus Michelle Pereira predictions here on the channel, so go make sure to check that video out. Coming on the channel later tonight. On Tuesday, we will have our college football predictions, and on Wednesday, we will have our NFL predictions on the channel as well, and on Monday as well, we will have our PFL Ngannou versus Ferreira predictions for the PFL pay-per-view as well, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel for, again, a bunch of predictions coming at you this week. Let's start things off with the first of the 2 conference championship series, and we start things off here in the National League. We have got the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the New York Mets. Now, the Mets beat my pick to win the World Series. I've been backing the Philadelphia Phillies throughout this entire season. I always thought, again, it was destiny for Bryce Harper to finally win his first World Championship. That will have to wait at least another season. I don't know if Bryce is ever going to get one, but now it is, it's the Mets' time right now. They are peaking at the right time, of course. Mark Vientos had a dominant NLDS. The guy's batting .430 so far in the postseason. He has been the best guy on this Mets team. Obviously, Francisco Lindor has been playing really well as well, but Vientos has been carrying the load and really always had that, perfectly timed hit in that series against Philadelphia. And the Mets pitching, man, in those 4 games was absolutely absurd. Against Sean Manaea in game number 3, shutting down Philly, getting them to game 4, where, of course, they closed out the series. But Sean Manaea, again, in that one game he pitched, was absolutely lights out in game number 3. And again, they've got Severino, they've got Sean Manaea, they're going to have Quintana, and they're going to have, I assume, Senga as well in the rotation. Obviously, Senga didn't go as long as he, normally would in game number 1 coming off that injury. But Senga gets game number 1 against Jack Flaherty in Los Angeles. Game 2 on Monday will be Sean Manaea for the New York Mets. I don't know what the Dodgers are going to go to later in this series. Obviously, Yamamoto pitched game 5 in the NLDS. I guess, it's going to have to be Walker Buehler in game number 2 for the Dodgers. And this is why, ultimately, I think the New York Mets win this series. I think the Dodgers are thin. And again, I said this last week when we predicted the NLDS between them and the Padres. And now if the Padres didn't go completely ice cold at the plate, maybe they would be in the series against the New York Mets. But regardless, I feel like the Dodgers lack some depth here in a 7-game series. In a 5-game series, you can get away with pitching, you can get away with pitching guys on short notice. You can get away with the bullpen game. I don't know if they can get away with that in a 7-game series here. And especially against this Mets team, who we're going to be pitching 4 really solid starters. Obviously, again, you go from a 3-man rotation to a 4-man essentially in this NLCS. And I get it. Again, technically the Dodgers were operating on a 4-man rotation. I don't think they can get away with the bullpen game in a 7-game series. Regardless, the Mets are going to have, they're going game 1, Severino. Senga. They're going Senga, Manaea, Severino, Quintana. I do believe that's going to be the first 4 games for them, and they'll just loop it back around after that. I think the Mets pitching is going to win them the series. Again, I get it. The Dodgers can swing the bat, and that's, again, the Mets are going to be able to put up runs as well. I think the difference, again, though, is the pitching out of the New York Mets. And I want to give a quick shout out to my guy, Jesse Winker. Absolutely love the guy. Again, I'll make it known I'm a Washington Nationals fan, and this Mets-Dodgers series is just, it pains me that these are the 2 teams left, but I mean, actually the 4 teams left weren't that much better. I mean, Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, Padres, I mean, come on. I think the Mets beat the Dodgers. And again, the Dodgers bats are going to show up, right? I mean, Mookie Betts finally got it going towards the tail end of that series. Shohei Ohtani, for as great as he is 4 for 20 in the playoffs. He just is. Freddie Freeman been doing all right. He's 4 for 14. Mookie, again, is 4 for 18. Teoscar Hernandez has been smacking the baseball. He's 6 for 18 so far in the postseason. But I simply feel like this team lacks depth going deep into the postseason here. Vesia is out. I believe Miguel Rojas is going to be on the active roster, but I wouldn't anticipate Miguel Rojas to play game number 1. So again, we'll see how they move Mookie or Kike to short. We'll see. Again, I just think the Mets are the deeper team, and I get it, the Dodgers bullpen's been pitching lights out, but again, it's a 7-game series now, not a 5-game series. They're going to have to beat the New York Mets 4 times, and I don't think the Mets are going to completely stall out at the plate like the Padres did. Now, again, if you had told me, if any team in the postseason was going to stall out for 24 consecutive innings at the plate and not score a single run, who is the team that would be least likely to do that? I would tell you the San Diego Padres. They make the, they hit they have the best contact hitting team in the major leagues. They always, again, put the ball in play, and they can rip it as well. I wouldn't expect that to be San Diego. And you got to give credit to the Dodgers pitching, obviously, with that as well. But I think the Mets are going to be able to take advantage. I like what they got going here. Pete Alonso has been playing a phenomenal postseason in what might be his swan song in Queens. Pete Alonso has showed up and he has delivered in the playoffs. Francisco Lindor is proving why, again, Shohei Ohtani is the MVP, but Francisco Lindor is proving why he is, again, in that conversation with Shohei Ohtani. Again, Jose Iglesias is not the best postseason, but again, Iglesias has brought the vibes to this Mets squad as well, and we have to talk about Mark Vientos and what he's been able to do for this team as well. Brandon Nimmo has been hitting well too. I mean, again, the Mets have been firing on all cylinders. Their only loss in the NLDS was a game that they almost had against the Phillies, and just took some clutch hits from Harper, Castellanos, and Bryson Stott for the Phillies to win that game. Other than that, the Mets really dominated that series for the most part. Game 1, again, they fall behind early, but they rally, they put up runs, they win the game. They find a way to win on a Zach Wheeler start. Game 3, again, Minaya pitches a gem. In Game 4, they're down 1-0, but then Francisco Lindor hits the grand slam. I mean, different guys have just, rose to the occasion at different points for the Mets, and that's why I think they beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. So give me the New York Mets to go into Los Angeles. I think the first 2 games, again, I think they split the first 2. I think the Mets go back to Los Angeles up 3-2. The Dodgers win game number 6, and in a winner-go-home game 7, the New York Mets go into LA, into the Chavez Ravine, and beat the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the New York Mets are going to the World Series. It pains me to say that. I'm not joking. It pains me to say the New York Mets are going to the World Series. But it is what it is. The Mets are going to the World Series. I think they're the better team in a 7-game series. Let's go on to the American League. We've got the Cleveland Guardians taking on the New York Yankees. I'm taking the New York Yankees, and here's why. I think the Guardians stall out too much for my likings at the plate. They just do. Now, you can credit that to the amazing pitching of the Detroit Tigers, and the New York Yankees obviously do not have the pitching the Tigers have. I completely understand that. I think that's, again, evident. Again, you watch the Detroit Tigers, pitching madness, obviously, with Tarek Skubal and the rest of that team. The Yankees did what we thought they were going to do to the Kansas City Royals, obviously, right? And now Bob Costas personally ruined the series for me. I mean, it's not Giancarlo's fault he grounded into the double play. I mean, that was whatever. It is what it is. The Guardians, though, just go through stretches where they're extremely cold at the plate, with the exception of Steven Kwan, who is one of the best hitters, contact hitters in the major leagues. Kwan is batting 500 so far in the postseason. He is 8 for 16 at the plate. It's absolutely ridiculous. Shout out to the Lane train, Lane Thomas. Again, it pains me as a Washington Nationals fan to watch Jesse Winker, Lane Thomas, and Juan Soto. I mean, odds on one of those guys are going to get a ring. It pains me. Daniel Hudson, I guess we can say, former National, right? I mean, the Nationals fan in me, I'm going to either see Daniel Hudson win another chip, or we're going to see Soto win another one, Lane Thomas win his first, or Jesse Winker win his first. Regardless of that fact, again, shout out to the Lane train, that big grand slam off of Skubal to win the game and ultimately win the series for Cleveland. Again, Thomas has risen to the occasion. He looked horrible at the tail end of the regular season. It was looking like the Nationals easily won that trade, getting Jose Tena in return for Lane. And again, we'll still see what happens to Tena down the road, but obviously, again, looks like that trade's been paying off with the way Thomas has been playing in the postseason. Obviously, the 3-run shot, earlier on in the ALDS as well. Jose Ramirez hasn't really been all that great. Again, Kwan's going to be dominant, at least in, putting the ball in play, and he's going to pick up base knocks. It's just the rest of this team kind of scares me. Again, Noel is, 0 for 9 in the postseason. David Fry's been doing all right. Rocchio's been doing okay, but Jimenez is 1 for 14. Again, J-Ram is 2 for 14 as well. The Yankees are going to show up. I just think they are. I think they're going to show up at the plate. Now, Aaron Judge is horrible in the playoffs. He's batting 151. He's 2 for 13 at the plate. But when he's got all that protection in the lineup, Giancarlo Stanton, Gleyber Torres hasn't been really smacking the baseball either, but Juan Soto, again, Soto is one of those guys you can rely on in a postseason setting. Hell, John Birdie hasn't been playing all that bad. Volpe's been doing a great job as well. I think this series will be close. I think every game of the series will be close, but I think the Yankees ultimately are just the better team. Their pitching has shown up so far this postseason. Again, Clay Holmes was very shaky in the regular season, but Holmes has gone he's gone 5 innings, hasn't given up a run so far in the playoffs, right? Garrett Cole has been pitching pretty well as well. We'll see what we get at Rodon, because Rodon really didn't pitch very well in game number 2, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see. But I trust in the Yankees to win in 6 in this series. I just simply think they're the better hitting team. I think both these teams, again, are going to see a lot of success pitching. Again, we'll see who the Guardians trot out in game number 1. I would assume it would be, is it Alex Cobb's turn? Or is it Bibby? It's one of the two. Boyd, of course, will get game 3. I worry a little bit for the Guardians, though. I do. Their bullpen's really good, don't get me wrong. Clase and company, obviously, again, Clase did give up the big slam to Kerry Carpenter, earlier on in the series as well. But, Clase is going to show up. I'm just scared for the pitching of I'm scared for the starting pitching of the Guardians against the Yankees. I think they're going to see success, but I don't know. It's a whole different lineup that the Guardians have to face this time around than the Tigers. Trust me, I like the grit the Tigers play with, but you go from seeing Justin Henry, Malloy and company and Kerry Carpenter, a one-legged Kerry Carpenter, being your biggest challenge, to Juan Soto, Jazz Chisholm, Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge if he can show up, Gleyber Torres. I mean, it's just a whole big difference. I just think the Guardians are outmatched in this series. I simply think they are. I think they're going to get outmatched in the series with the Yankees. And I think the Yankees ultimately win it in 6. And you know what that means? I have a Subway Series in the World Series between the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. Personally, I want to see the Cleveland Guardians win the series. I don't think they're going to. I think the Yankees are just the better team as a whole. I think they have too many they have too many good bats to not win this series. But trust me, I'm cheering for the Guardians. I guess I'm cheering for the Mets. I'm cheering for Guardians-Mets World Series, but we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be Mets-Yankees, and we get a Subway Series in the World Series. Oh my goodness, that will be a big deal if it happens. But again, we will see, folks. We'll be back for our World Series prediction regardless of who it is. Again, we think it's going to be the Yankees and the Mets, but we'll be back regardless later on in the postseason after both the ALCS and the NLCS have concluded. We'll be back here on the channel for that World Series pick. Folks, thank you for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to join us later today for our UFC picks and, of course, for the rest of the week with our PFL, NCAA college football, and NFL picks as well. Folks, thank you for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba, forever.